Hello, it's Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and today I'm bringing you a reading about connection. How do we connect with ourselves, with each other, with the divine? And how do we connect like our ancestors, our variety of ancestors that have come together to bring us into the world? How do we connect those with ourselves as well in all these different facets? Today I'm going to do a reading with that connection piece in mind, and I'm going to use these cards, the Edutainment Netivot Wisdom Oracle by Kohenet Ketzirah, and we're going to just pull out two cards today. Let's see which two want to come out. I think there's one, and I see the second one at the bottom here. I'm noticing that my candle is starting to try to go out, so I'm going to light a new candle from the old candle, carrying that flame forward. There we go. And let's take a look at these cards, and you'll get to choose which one you are drawn to, and we'll read about them in your separate readings. I'll put the timestamps down below, and you'll have an opportunity to take a look at them if you want to pause the video. Let's take a look. The first one, we have the Midwife, the Meyaledet, Unlock Pathways of Creation. What a beautiful card. The Midwife. And for the second card, we have the Doreshet, the Seeker, and it says, dig deep roots and fly away free. Such an interesting contrast of cards, one so complex and one so simple. So take a moment to discern which one of these is calling to you today, and we'll put the timestamps down below. We'll take you directly to your reading. And we'll do some Hebrunes and some Nordic Runes as well, bringing together my ancestors into one reading about connection. So I will see you in your separate readings. Welcome, card number one. Those of you who chose the card for the Meyaledet, the Midwife. And this particular card in this particular deck speaks to the offering of the midwife. Now, the midwife has a variety of offerings that she gives to the world. She is the one who brings midwifery, birthing of children into the world, gardening, tending, and mentoring. It says, call on me to assist you in giving birth to any creations. I am here to be a teacher, ally, or guide in the process of creation. I am the embodiment of growth, healing, and change. And I love that in this card there are all these different references to change and comfort and challenge and life and living juicily, love and beauty. The offering card says, the tools and techniques of coaching and creativity are the offerings of the Meyaledet. Helping others unlock their vision, strength, stamina, and power is the calling. How can you help others understand what they need to hold, heal, and transform? What does this moment call for to enable what is next to be? The Meyaledet. And so in terms of connection, how this seems to play out, in my understanding, is the midwife is the one who helps a person birth an idea or a child or a project into creation. It could be art, it could be writing, it could be actual literal birth. And they help to connect the person who is creating with the creation itself. So that's our first message here for how are things connecting. And then we're going to set the card up here in this card holder where we can still see it. And my idea is to pull out 3 Hebrunes, and then we'll pull out 3 Nordic runes as well and see how they connect together. So at the top of our reading we have the letter Gimel. In the center we have the letter Tav. And at the bottom we have the Ein Sof. Lovely. Let's grab our Nordic runes as well. And at the top we have the letter Fehu. In the center we have the letter Kenaz, reversed. And at the bottom we have Degaz. Very nice. So at the top of our reading, this spread has at the top the letter that is coming to you from divinity. What is the connection from divinity down to you? And we have the letter Gimel. Gimel is the letter that means a camel or a foot, and it is connected to the Meyaledet, the midwife, in Hebrew as well. She's the one who helps to give birth, and is, for the ally card for the Meyaledet in this deck, is represented by a camel, which is an animal that can midwife itself through the desert and the wilderness. So it's very interesting that she comes up here as well. So we have this unlocking the pathway of creation and the movement forward, because Gimel is a camel or a foot, and it is that stepping forward into the next iteration, walking through the wilderness, holding its own food and water, and ferrying others as well, carrying what needs to be carried through the wilderness, through sometimes that deepest, darkest time in the travels. The Gimel is the number 3 in Gematria, so it has that tripod stability, and it represents the 3 creation elements of fire, water, and air, the 3 mother letters in Hebrew. It brings them together into one piece. It's the binary transformation of peace and evil. So when we think about peace in terms of shalom, shalom means peace, but it also means wholeness, bringing wholeness together. And the opposite of that might be brokenness or wickedness. So I think about it in terms of the Garden of Eden, Gan Eden, which also begins with the Gimel. Gan is garden. And it speaks to that tree in the garden that gives us the knowledge of what is whole and what is broken, what is peaceful and what is evil. And so we're striving somewhere along that continuum, moving from, hopefully, from what is broken toward what is whole, and taking our time walking through the desert, walking through the wilderness. The Gimel is also the letter that rules over the planet Jupiter in the sky, so it represents the largest planet in our solar system. So we have this largeness of movement, this largeness of wholeness. It's affiliated with the patriarch Yaakov, Jacob, and I think of it in terms of relating to Jacob because he was a person who ran. He ran from Esau when he was gotten himself into trouble, and he also ran from Lavan, his father-in-law, when he felt his time there was over, and he sojourned throughout the wilderness with his entire tribe with him. So Yaakov, who is the one who spoke to the divine, whose name was changed to Yisrael, the one who wrestles with the divine. So there's a lot wrapped up here with the Gimel, and there are connections between the past and the present, the connections between siblings, Yaakov and Esau, the connections between peace and evil, the connections between walking forward and being able to maintain a stamina that gets us to where we're going. And I brought the red thread out here today as a connective element. And this represents the umbilical cord that connects us to the divine, connects us to our mother, connects us to the mother letters of fire, air, and water. So all these connecting pieces are wrapped up here in the Gimel as we are trying to unlock our pathways for creation, drawing on that umbilicus, drawing on the oneness of the divine, and drawing on our own stamina to get us through where we're needing to go. On the left side, the Nordic rune that we have is the letter Fehu. And Fehu is the letter that represents cattle and wealth and worth. So success, abundance, the increase of income, but also just value, whatever that looks like to you. It doesn't necessarily need to be financial in nature. Because it does represent cattle, it's mostly about the thing that we tend in the world. So what is it you are tending right now that is bringing you value? Are you tending your spiritual practice? Are you tending some project? Are you tending an art installation or a piece of writing or some kind of study that is important to you? Whatever it is that you tend and focus on and give your attention to will bring you the greatest wealth and success and abundance in your life. So what's coming down from above on the left side is this idea of wealth and worth given to you by divinity and offering you the opportunity to tend what is most important to you. If you find yourself tending something that isn't sparking joy for you, that isn't bringing you the kind of creation that you want to see in the world, it may be time to shift to something that does spark that for you. Find the appropriate midwife to bring yourself into a place of tending. Make yourself that midwife so that you can tend what brings you joy and beauty in the world. So we have the Fehu here telling us that our wealth and our cattle are given to us by divinity and birthed through by our own attention. So let's pay attention to what is important. Find what is of value and tend it appropriately. In the center on the right side, we have the letter Tav. And this is the position of what is our challenge right now in our situation with this idea of connection. Our challenge, coming up as the letter Tav. Tav is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. So it represents the ending of a thing, a signature or a seal, some kind of stamp, but also reincarnation. As things end, new things begin. And it is the binary transformation of sovereignty and slavery. And to that end, I think of it in terms of what is it that you're connected to that has got you feeling enslaved? And how can you release that feeling of obligation, that feeling of being so tied up in something that you're not enjoying it anymore, and turn it into a place of sovereignty? How can you take the thing that has got you trapped? Maybe you're trapped inside of some kind of connection that is not serving you. It's time to release that and gain your own sovereignty in the situation. And it is the last letter of the word emet, which means truth. And emet is made up of the first center and last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So it's a stamp on truth. It's saying this is what is true. So think about what is true for you and try to figure out how you can come around to a place of feeling your own sovereignty in the situation. There may be some fear tied up in something coming to an end. There may be a fear of letting that go. There may be some kind of challenge with that. But it is essential for you to move forward and be reborn, to let go of the thing that is causing you to feel enslaved. Some say that this letter looks a little bit like a Dalet and a Nun, which spells Deen, meaning judgment. So there may be some judgment that's coming in that you're afraid of. Maybe you're judging things harshly or someone else is judging you. And maybe it's time to let that go as well. I think of it as an impression being stamped or sealed as if the past generations of our ancestors are stamped and sealed into our DNA. So there may be something we're connected to in the past that is not serving us as well. And it may be time to look into doing some ancestral communication and transformation, that if we're carrying something that isn't ours to carry, it may be time to return it to its rightful owners, to sit in meditation, find the person to whom this sense belongs and offer gratitude for their service to your creation, to the fact that you were born, and return to them whatever burden you are carrying that belongs to them. And when you do that, you may have a better sense of gratitude toward your ancestors, and you may have a better sense of knowing that they really want the best for you in this life, that they don't desire for you to carry their burdens any longer. So I see a lot wrapped up in the Tav here and the challenges that come with it. It's important to remember that these things transform over time, that endings come and new beginnings come again. The Tav is the letter that rules over the moon in the sky. So we have this moon that comes every month to newness, darkness, and then grows to its fullness, and then diminishes again back down to darkness. So cycles and seasons are important to keep in mind, that when an ending comes, it's important to remember that a new beginning is also on the way, and that we can let go of the idea that everything stays like this forever. On the left side, our challenge or our fear is the letter Kanaz, and it's in reverse. Usually it looks like this, where it's opening to the right, where you start with a little spark and it glows to a giant flame. But in this case, it's upside down, and that would indicate that it's focusing down to a point, that you had this brightness over here, and then it's been focused down to one point. So it's a beacon or a torch, but in this particular situation, it's not illuminating things, it's bringing pinpoint focus to a thing. So it's possible, and it's interesting, it's pointing at this eye in the center here, it's possible that you've got tunnel vision, that you have narrowed your vision down to one point where you can only see the one thing, the one goal, the one way to do the project, one way to birth the idea. And that isn't serving you right now. It's important to, in order to reverse that kanaz, to bring it back out to an opening flame, broaden your vision, to expand the ability to see how things can be different. You can focus on what the goal is and maybe let go of how it gets to be. That's how I'm seeing this right now, that you've got this wealth and worth, but you've got a very specific idea of how it's supposed to go. And I think it might serve you to let that go, to let go of that specific idea. Maybe call in a midwife, call in a Meyaledet who can help you birth a thing, maybe differently than you imagined that it would be born. And when you can let go of that, then your ideas will expand, and you'll have the ability to see more clearly how things might be, rather than being married to this one idea of how they are in your mind. At the bottom of our reading on the right side, we have the Ein Sof, and this has been coming up so much this last couple of weeks. The Ein Sof is the blank. It is the substrate onto which all the other letters are carved. It means literally that without end, the unendingness, the boundlessness of the divine. So the outcome here, once we have found our way in our journeying and accepted that endings happen and new beginnings then come from that, is boundlessness. We have this timelessness, this void that can be a little difficult to grasp, but it is the infinite potential for all things to come into being. That we maybe aren't stuck with this one idea any longer, but accept that there's infinite potential, that fate is wide open, and that we can be open to the source energy. We can be open to whatever is being offered to us as we are birthing what we need to birth and connecting to the allness of the divine, of all things in the universe. And I think of the Ein Sof as also being attached to that idea of Tzimtzum, which is contraction, that the divine existed in all places at all times before creation, and then had to contract themselves down to one point in order to make space for creation to exist. So this idea of making space, this is the space that we're making. We're contracting like a mother who is in birth. We're helping or getting help with that birth from a midwife who is assisting us with the contraction. And when that happens, the space occurs, and then creation can happen. We need a blank canvas. We need a blank page in order to make the thing that needs to be made. And we can connect to that by opening our minds and opening our perspectives to encompassing all the allness of all things, the oneness, the beingness of that which was, is, and will be. So allowing for the divine, for the source of all blessing and all life to work, giving them the space as need be. And on the left side, we have the rune of Degaz. And Degaz means the breaking of the day. It is that dawn, the illumination of all things. So, as I was saying with the Kenaz, instead of focusing to a laser point, you want to open up your perspective. And this is that breaking of the day. So we have the potential and the ability here for total illumination. And it is here to tell us that that is the outcome of this particular reading. When we find our midwife, when we're able to see more broadly how things can be, Degaz is here to let us know that there will be a breakthrough, there will be awakening, there will be awareness and prosperity, that idea of wealth and worth will come to fruition when we open our eyes to the power of the allness of all things, that we'll have everything and we'll be able to see that we have everything we need to connect, that we have the appropriate midwife, that we have connection with the divine, that we can step forward, that the largeness of that planet Jupiter is here watching over us, giving us the ability to step forward, that our wealth and worth, the things that we've tended, if we can let go of that tunnel vision, will bring us to a breaking of the day and an awareness of that prosperity that may be already here for you. So step forward, tend what needs to be tended. Understand that endings come with new beginnings. Don't be afraid of the judgment that's there, but be aware that our pasts may be stamped into us and that we maybe need to do some work connecting with the ancestors in order to release those things that are keeping us enslaved. If we've got ourselves into a laser point, broaden that back out. Open your mind and your ideas as to how things could be. And then a breaking of the day will come, and we'll be able to step into the infinite potential of everything that is coming in connection, unlocking those pathways of creation with our midwife, with our Meyaledet. And we'll see the beauty, and we'll see the change that needs to happen. We'll overcome the challenges and bring ourselves into the new creation that's coming. So for those of you who chose the Meyaledet, the midwife who is unlocking pathways of creation, this has been your reading today for connection, and I hope that you find a beautiful way to connect with the divine, with another, and with yourself through this time. Hello, card number 2. Those of you who chose the Doreshet, the Seeker, it says, dig deep roots and fly away free. I love this card. It's got this dandelion in its full seed blowing away into the air. And this is the ally card from the Doreshet in this deck. The Doreshet means seeker. And this is what it says. I bring curiosity, interpretation, scholarship, travel, and exploration. I ask why, and continue to find new truths and new ways of understanding truths. I am the embodiment of pilgrimage, sacred journeying within and in the world to find new ways of transforming myself and others. And specifically, the ally card for Doreshet says, dig deep and fly away free. The ally of the Doreshet is Taraxacum, commonly known as the dandelion. The dandelion digs deep, strong roots, so its seeds can later fly away. It is a potent symbol and partner in seeking what is deep below us, and even knowing when to release and spread out into the world. This ally embodies rooting and releasing. So this is a beautiful card for the idea of connection, because the seeds float off into the wind, they plant themselves in the ground, connect themselves to the earth, grow up toward the heavens, and then fly away again. So this symbol of connecting to the earth, to the heavens, is really potent and powerful here. And the way that one can connect, as it says, is to plant oneself deep in the earth so that you have a stable foundation from which to fly away free. So what we're going to do, we're going to set this card up here. And we're going to take some Hebrunes. We're going to take 3 Hebrunes, and then we're going to take 3 Nordic runes as well, and find the connections between those 2 different systems of reading. So at the top of our reading, we have the letter Nun. In the center, we have the Ein Sof. And at the bottom, we have the Kaf. On the Nordic runes side, at the top, we have the letter Isa. In the center, we have Othala. And at the bottom, we have Tiwaz. So the position in these readings, where we have 3 in a row like this, at the top is what is coming down from the divine. What is the divine communicating to you regarding this topic, which is connection? And we have the letter Nun on the Hebrew side, and the letter Nun is the letter I affiliate with humility and humbleness. It is the first letter of the word Ne'aman, meaning humble. It's also the first letter of the word Nes, which means miracle. So it has this dual meaning of humility and miraculousness. And they're not separate, they're definitely connected, that if one is humble, it's sometimes easier to see the miracle in the situation. And when a miracle occurs, we tend to fall to our knees with humility in the awe of the divine. And it looks a little bit like somebody who's bent over or kneeling here. I affiliate this with the Hermit card frequently. It's an appropriate place for a seeker to be in a position of humility, a position of seeking the connection with the divine through meditation and prayer before heading off into the world. It's the foundation of locomotion in the Sefer Ketzirah, the book of creation. And locomotion is this sort of movement that starts off very slowly, but builds up momentum as it continues. And then it gets up to a nice clip and a speed like a locomotive train, and nothing can stop it when that happens. It is the letter that has this connotation of faithfulness and loyalty along with it. So being connected to someone or something where, despite whatever hardships come along, there is faithfulness. As I said, it's connected to the Hermit card in tarot, where one sits in contemplation and considers how one is connected to the divine and what the messages are about how to move forward next. And that's connected to the Doreshet here in terms of taking time to seek messages from divinity before setting off on your path. On the Nordic rune side, at the top, we have the letter Isa. And Isa is the letter that means ice. It's just a straight line. Take a look at it. It's ice. It's a standstill, but it's the stillness through which clarity comes. So it's a very, very similar message here, that it's about staying still, concentrating, listening, being in that stillness and silence so that you can hear what the next message is. It can sometimes be seen as being frozen, having a block or some kind of standstill, but as this is coming from the divine, this top position of the reading, I really get the sense that it's about just being still. And it looks a little bit like that root of the dandelion that goes deep into the earth. So the root of the dandelion penetrates deep down into the earth and becomes an anchor in the same way that that Isa letter is standing strong, in the same way that the Nun is sitting in contemplation. I think that the standstill here, this Isa ice coming from above, is a gift of the divine, the ability to stay still until one knows what the right direction is to go, and starting slowly with the Nun, with that building up of momentum. In the center of our reading, we have the position of what is a fear or a challenge right now in our situation. And on the Hebrew side, we have the Ein Sof. And the Ein Sof is this blank that is the unknown. And it's the infinite and infinite potential and infinite ability to manifest, infinite possibility. And it's the unknown. So it's a little bit frightening. It could be a fear or a challenge right now. We don't know what's coming. We are standing still. We are sitting in contemplation. We are considering what the next steps are. And all we have in front of us is this unknown. And that can be challenging. And it can be challenging to be in the face of the divine. Like I said, when you see that miracle, the Ness, it drops us to our knees. The beauty of a miracle can cause us to humble ourselves in the face of the infinite. But it can also be seen as that primordial chaos, that which came before all time and that which will be coming at the end of time. The Tahom, the boundlessness, the void. So when we don't know what's happening, when we don't know where these seeds will land, that at the end of the life of a dandelion, it blows away into the air and does not know where it will land. The plant that birthed it does not know where those seeds will go. And the seeds that are flying away do not know where they will land. That unknown can seem very frightening. But we know that the divine is here, that the endlessness of divinity is carrying those seeds on the wind. So as we're seeking, we let go of that plant that birthed us, the roots that have been holding us, and we fly away. We're free, but we're also heading off into the unknown. So that can be a fear or a challenge right now. And the way to connect with that, the way to connect through that unknown, is to be aware that when we are in that free fall, when we're in that flying away time, we are being held by the infinite. We're being propelled by the infinite and guided in a way that we cannot see. So connect into that if you are in the midst of your flying, or you're afraid to let go of the mother plant. Know that the divine has your back, that has you in its hand as it's flying off. That breath of the divine is hurrying you off to your next destination. And on the Nordic runes side, the fear or the challenge is interestingly the opposite of that. It's the Othala. Othala is the rune of property. It's inheritance and home and possessions and the physical ancestral homeland. So it's about being at home in yourself. It's about being comfortable. And the fear or the challenge here is, how do we let go of the home? How do we let go of this property? How do we release ourselves from the comforts, the property, the possessions, the attachments that we have to our ancestral homeland, to our ancestors, to the burdens maybe that have been placed on us by our ancestors. So our fear or challenge here is, interestingly, how do we let go of what is comfortable and how do we fly off into the void? The discomfort, maybe releasing our attachment to our ancestral patterning, that we have these deep roots that bring us to a place of comfort and a place of home and heritage. And yet, in order to find freedom, we have to fly away. So we can remain connected in a certain way, but there is a letting go that has to happen for us to fly away and become free. So there's that balance between connecting and releasing that is challenging here in this reading. And our outcome position on the Hebrew side is the letter Kaf. The letter Kaf, which is seen as a palm of a hand. So a hand that is outstretched in this way. And is sometimes seen as the hand of the Shekhinah or the wings of the Shekhinah. So the hand of the Shekhinah is lifting us up and holding us, like I said, is guiding us on our journey as we seek our way through the world. This hand is here, and it's buoying us up and holding us in the palm of her hand. And it's also sheltering us over like the wings of the Shekhinah, like she is holding us in her wings and sheltering us from the sun. The Kaf is the letter that rules over the sun in the sky. So it has this connotation of source energy as well. But the sun can also be very oppressive. The Kaf, being the palm of a hand, can be seen as something helpful, but it can also be oppressive. It can be pushing down. It's the letter that begins the word koach, meaning power, and the word keter, meaning crown. So it has this sense of something sitting on top of your head. There's power, there's a crown, there's a kippah, a hat that's on top of our head. But it can also be something that's oppressing us, pushing us down with the hand. It's the letter shows up twice in the word skach, which is the covering that one puts over the sukkah in the fall time during Sukkot. So there's this sense of covering, like the wings of the Shekhinah, sheltering us from the sun, the same way the skach covers the sukkah and shelters us from the sun. So something is sheltering us. Something is lifting us up and sheltering over us and protecting us. So as we are flying away free, as we have released ourselves from the mother plant and we're flying off, that guidance is happening here with the Ein Sof, and that hand is protecting us from the harsh rays of the sun while we establish new roots wherever it is we're heading. I think of it in terms of strength, koach, the power and the strength that we have to find our way after we've come through humility, after we've accepted and embraced the infinite. Then we have the power to find our new place as we've flown away. And on the Nordic runes side, our outcome position has the letter Tiwaz. And Tiwaz is Tyr's rune. Tyr is the warrior god. It's about duty and obligation. He's the sky god, and he's the one who is all about loyalty and leadership and self-sacrifice. Tyr is the one who sacrificed his hand to the wolf Fenrir so it would prevent the war from coming. But he is a warrior god, and it's about duty and direction and moving toward a thing with power. So it's got that same thing, that same connotation of power here at the bottom. So really fascinating that we have these letters that are really connected in a lot of ways. Tyr's rune is saying, follow your duty. Know that you are heading toward a victory. And so starting at the top, as we are finding our connection with that rooting into the dandelion's roots, into the earth, and then releasing, rooting and releasing. We have the humility that comes with the letter Nun, bowing and bending, accepting the miracle, the ness in the situation, and sitting in silence, sitting in a hermit's way to find that stillness through which clarity comes. Our challenges is the Ein Sof, the not knowing what's coming next, the trusting in the infinite, and releasing our comfort of home, letting go of what we've come to know in such a way that we can find our new place and our new freedom along our path. And the outcome here is power on both sides, koach, that idea of strength with the palm of the hand, being lifted up by the divine, being sheltered from the sun, finding our power and our victory, checking in with our duty. Like I said, the Nun speaks to this idea of loyalty, and the Tiwaz also speaks to loyalty. So it kind of crosses back up to the beginning again. We're following our duty, we're following that power, and it's bringing us back up to humility and loyalty and faithfulness, and really tapping into the divine and finding out what our direction should be. So our connections here are all about rooting deep and releasing and trusting in the divine. So connecting with the earth, connecting with ourselves, connecting with divinity, and finding our way along the road as we seek our way, rooting deep and flying away free. So for those of you who chose the Doreshet card today, this has been your reading. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you find connection in the ways that you need to find it. And I hope to see you here again next time.